somebody said to me who was in the office, said, I wish I knew what average was, right? I wish I knew what was average in the industry, what was supposed to happen, how many people were supposed to fall off every month. That way you know if you're meeting the benchmark. We had that question for 2 years until I met you. Now we can finally answer that question and not worry that we're not doing a good enough job, not worry that we have to hire another person. And, you know, from our perspective, you can call it marketing, but it's more of a keeping in touch campaign.
Yeah.
And it allows me to know that I'm running my business more efficiently than we were prior.
How are you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, lots going on, but doing well. A lot of short weeks here. I don't know if you have kids. Do you have kids?
2.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of Mondays and Fridays and Tuesdays off of school here. So trying to get a lot done in between. So it's been, you know, like 3 short weeks back to back.
I know that's about like so we have Friday off. My daughter, she's 6 in first grade, has Friday off tomorrow and then Monday off. Why Monday? I don't know.
Well, and we have Tuesday off too. And my daughter just got home. She has a half day today. And we missed school Monday and we missed school Friday to drive to a cheerleading competition in Mississippi. And then, we're heading down to Naples tomorrow morning. And, let's see, the previous Monday I had something as well. So anyway, lots going on. But,
spring's a lot crazy.
A lot of good stuff.
Winter.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll mention some stuff. I mentioned some stuff before, but, so I have 2 companies, right, really, that I'm actively involved in. And so part of this, I guess I'll ask you to think about how we may be able to help my other company too.
Yeah.
So we may not be ready for the help over there yet, but we're getting close. So just so you know, it's a young public company dealing in animal breath technology. We're focusing on the breath stuff. It does 4 different things. But basically right now we are creating a heartworm breath test for dogs. And so it would be non-invasive, high sensitivity, high specificity. And if you don't know, the current heartworm test can't pick up heartworm in less than 6 months because it's basically a pregnancy test for the worms in the belly, whereas ours will pick it up, we believe, as soon as the immune system starts responding. So we're continuing to do testing. We just sent in our registration statement yesterday. Once that gets approved, we'll be trading and able to talk to the market. And, we have high hopes for where that's going. So part of the game is getting the word out, social media campaigns, trying to find the right audiences. There may be a time where we want to reach out to veterinarians or vet hospitals.
Yeah.
So I don't have my head wrapped around yet what we need to do, but I just want to at least introduce it to you and realize that that's in the back of my mind too.
That's very interesting space. So this would be technically like net new territory, kind of first to market stuff.
Yeah. Nobody's done any non-invasive breath testing for disease for animals. Our parent company does the human side, so they do cancer for humans. They're doing colon cancer and pancreatic cancer and sepsis and things like that. And we have the rights on the animal side. And so it does disease. It also does treatment effectiveness because it's quantitative. It can also identify things like food safety problems, like certain types of mold in food. And lastly, whether there are any environmental conditions that are a problem, like in a chicken coop or a horse stall. So right now we're looking into avian flu, for example. That's another one we think we'd be able to identify. Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, I know we don't have any eggs in our fridge right now because of the flu.
Right. It's a hot button. I see people even stealing eggs from restaurants and stuff. So it was an egg heist here. Somebody lost 540 eggs.
Oh man,
guys on camera stealing the eggs.
Selling on the black market for what, $10 a dozen, $20 a dozen?
I guess so.
All right, let me jump into it. So Andrew, you run a successful telemedicine clinic, and I know you've had a few businesses before and that you still have a couple businesses after. So the question is, before using AI, what was your biggest challenge? And it could be anything from patient retention to whatever it is you use in the other business.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting on one of the right points there. Patient retention is a huge issue in our business, but more so than patient retention, it's about the details behind that and trying to understand why patients are acting a certain way, trying to understand their behavior, and then it's what do you do about that? And when you're running a small business and you have a certain number of employees, obviously you're focused on efficiency and making sure everybody's utilizing, the best avenues in front of them here to achieve the goal. And one of the things that we never know is, are we reaching out too much to certain patients? Are we not reaching out enough? Are we calling somebody who's moved away? Are they avoiding us because of financial concerns? And you never really knew. And so there's definitely been a big gray area or a question mark on the retention side about whether efforts on chasing folks are going to be worthwhile or not. And so we had implemented certain rules in the office about how many times to follow up with somebody and in what manner, whether it was telephone or text or what email, what have you. And we just have these spreadsheets. And over time, you generate these spreadsheets. And you're not quite sure what to do with them. You're not sure if there's any value there, and you don't want to waste people's time. You don't want to burn people out, and you also don't want to hire additional people if you don't need to. So making sure that we were operating as efficiently as possible and trying to understand why patients may leave or not come back was definitely our biggest challenge in this business.
So if you had to guess before we ran our AI test, why did you think that patients were leaving?
So in our business is mental health, and that covers a lot of different areas, including drug usage and alcohol and different aspects of anxiety, depression, etc. And in that sector, I think that we understand that there's going to be a certain amount of people that fall off the wagon or are no longer focused on getting help and healing. And we expect a small percentage of that. We just never knew how much. And another thing is, some patients come back every 2 weeks, some come back every 4 weeks, every 3 months, or every 180 days. And it has been very challenging to identify who is avoiding us or who is just not communicating yet because it's not in their appropriate window to book the appointment or follow up with us. But once we really started drilling down on it, I'll tell you, I was mortified by how many people left. We run a great business. We have great quality. We have great providers, and we don't believe it's our quality, which is why people are leaving. So then you ask yourself, where are they going? We tried things like surveys, SurveyMonkey. We did not have a lot of luck with people responding to those or giving us good information. Every once in a while, somebody said something nice. So that was good to hear. But it was really about understanding what the appropriate amount of retention is. We knew we weren't going to be 100%, and you don't know if that should be 90% or 30%. And so trying to figure that out without spending too much money or different resources has proven to be challenging over the last few years.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So can you walk us through kind of what happened during our AI test, this database reactivation test, and kind of how that dovetailed into kind of what you uncovered?
Yeah, I think the timing of when we got together was perfect for us. As a small business, there's a phase where you're not quite at capacity, and so you're not recognizing inefficiencies. And over time, we've grown to capacity. We've added additional support members, and we've put in these, different parameters on what they should be doing and how they should be communicating with different patients. We had almost 1,000 patients in our database that I would have said fell off the wagon, ran away, or moved away, or what have you. And these are all folks that the office had gone through the old method of reaching out 3 different times through different methods, different times of the day. We would mix it up. Maybe they're a daytime person, a nighttime person, an email person, a text message person. And so we would try and make sure that we did what we needed to do to feel as if we put our best foot forward to try and pull that patient back in to heal again. And based on that, you would say, well, these people were already chased and we didn't get any traction. And so we're assuming they're kind of gone forever. When you approached us, and said, hey, I'd like to take a crack at seeing if we can get any traction on those inactive leads, it was like, yes, I'm very curious. I'm very curious to know if we, what additional information we learn or what types of results we get. And I got to tell you, I was blown away. I think, I told you when we first met that anytime somebody comes to me with a newer idea or a marketing type campaign, my expectations are very low. very
Yeah.
low. I guess I've been in business a long time. I know it takes time. I know that, a lot of things need to align properly to have success. And so I really thought we may only get one or two folks. And, through doing even just a test program with you over the first couple of weeks, we had a huge amount of people respond, communicate with us, and book follow-up appointments again. And I'll tell you, there was a couple different benefits from that. Obviously, we got the patient back, which was fantastic and a win-win all the way around. But additionally, we got a lot of data and information from the patients about either why they weren't coming back or that they would like to come back and why. And that was better than any of the data we ever got from our surveys or from reaching out to patients or trying to stimulate review programs. And, we would get a little bit, but it was always a very small percentage of people that would respond to that type of thing, which didn't give us the confidence that we had the whole picture. And so to go through this exercise with you and utilize leads that we did not think would amount to almost anything, it sort of opened my eyes that there is business there. And in our business, every business is a little bit different. In our business, part of the key is getting people at the right timing. And I'm sure that's true in every business, but it means something a little different in each one. In ours, we got to get people at the right time when they might be looking for help and they're open-minded, et cetera. And so this has given us a new tool to reach out, in a way that people are not upset with us, frustrated, annoyed, and it's on their timing. We're primarily using text message programs, which give people some flexibility with that. And part of what I want to do is continue to go down the rabbit hole and learn even more. So we've done certain things, which now I've proven to myself, you've proven to me that this method is helpful and beneficial. And now I'm opening my mind and saying, how else can I use this? What other information can I gather? How can I feel as if we're really, giving it our all to follow up with these people and reconnect with these people and offer the best help? And, there's different angles. There's collecting money. There's folks that didn't show up to an appointment and you don't know why. Just like most folks that go to a doctor, when you leave the doctor, oftentimes you're encouraged to book your next appointment. Of course, we do that as well, but not everybody knows their schedule, 1, 2, 3 months in the future. That has proven to be a big area that I think we can utilize this technology that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when Jack, our mutual friend, was talking to us, and he brought, he connected us together. He was like, "This isn't gonna work for patient acquisition or behavioral health." And I was like, "Okay, I mean, database reactivation, it hasn't failed to date to generate results." And I was like, I was myself a little skeptical whether or not it was going to work in this area. And so I think to me, it was a surprise, and it was also a refreshing surprise to see not only did I think our test actually generate results, not just the patient re-engagement, but also the data behind it. But it not only did well, it did much better than our typical benchmarks, which I thought, never mind wildest dreams when that happened. So that made me think about that a little bit differently. And to your, so I know database reactivation, to your point, is kind of the best place to start, at least integrating AI into kind of your day-to-day, right? It's almost like the gateway drug. To your point, like you were saying, we want to kind of start introducing this into other areas of our business. And to us, that's exactly kind of what makes sense. We talked about it before with, the .com and everyone not necessarily knowing, why they needed a website or what the value was. And then, so for us, this is like that first step of getting, I think, people to understand that AI, generative AI especially, isn't necessarily just for content creation or crunching hard data, right? To, to provide a statistical output or something, but more along the lines of this can be used for sales and marketing. It can be used for internal processes, and it can be used to bring back customers who otherwise didn't buy from you or, no longer purchase from you and bring them back in. So that's just a pretty cool thing. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. What was the first moment you realized that this stuff was actually working?
As soon as we put it into play, we got a lot of responses, and I wasn't expecting to get that many responses. And again, what I receive on my end is an email from each lead that shows me the conversation. And earlier I talked about data and information, and what I found, I wasn't expecting that. So as soon as I would get those emails and I could read the conversations, I was learning about my business. I was learning about the patient experience. I was learning why the patients didn't come back. and that they were interested in coming back, right? It was, I guess, part of what we learned is it wasn't something necessarily that we did. Of course, we can always get better, but that was the question: is, are we doing something wrong, or is this normal? And that helped us get closer to the bottom of that question. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago, there are so many different levels of that. So I think now we've gotten the first 10,000 foot view level of that, and we'll keep drilling down. And I think, I want to get as detailed as possible with who my patients are, what their habits are, what their likes and dislikes are. And we have a lot of different types of patients, right? With a mental health telehealth company that we have, that's everything from my daughter's, ADHD to, somebody who's on fentanyl. So a lot of different types of folks that have different types of behavior, and it's not a one-stop shop. And so when I do my percentages of expectations and so on, I need to separate that out into different groups. And, so that would be, again, another level that we could go to with this technology, is we would do certain campaigns on certain aspects of the business. And that way we can separate things out and not just have a blanket number across the board.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think one of the things that we also talked about was like, how can we, use what we're doing here with generative AI and text messaging to broaden the scope, not just from patients who didn't show up or never came back to the practice, but what else can we learn from the existing patient base that we do have, who is coming back, right? Where can we improve our services and offerings? What would they like to see more out of the business? And the best part, in my opinion, and you may disagree, you might have a different part, but what I think is very valuable is that with text messaging, this can be done at our client's time frame, right? With an email, it's like, I'll get to it whenever I get to it, right? And I might never get to it. But with text, it's like, hey, we're asking you questions in a two-way dialogue with someone on the other side, someone being AI, and you can respond whenever you want, and we can follow up with you whenever we want or whenever you prefer it. And then you can collect that data over time rather than trying to force someone to fill out, for example, a survey, right? Which takes 5 to 10 minutes maybe. But this way it's back and forth over the course of 4 or 5 days, and you get not only a better output, but you get to get it done when the client on the other end is actually interested.
Well, and that's true. There's two sides to that. So there's when the patient wants to respond, and then there's when our support staff is ready for more communications. And so one of the things we've talked about more is about specifically timing campaigns with the flow of the office. So, for example, if we know that Mondays are extremely hectic and we certainly don't want any more phone calls on a Monday, we would just not do the campaign on a Monday. And that's the kind of level I like to drill down to, is get very specific. What days of the week, what times of day, what kinds of messages for this specific type of patient? Are they better getting a message in the evening versus the daytime? There's all different details, and I want to go as deep as possible. And I think that by using the same types of methods with different data, we can learn more to become more and more efficient. And I'll just, go on with efficiency here. Right now we have a few great support members in the office, and, we got to capacity, we improved our systems, we became more efficient, and we were kind of getting to a level where it was like, all right, are we ready to hire another person? And a lot of the duties of of that staff member would be outgoing phone calls. It would be chasing patients. It would be chasing money. It would be chasing people that didn't book an appointment, people that didn't show up to an appointment, people that called in and filled out some paperwork, but not all of the paperwork, but they sounded like they were on board. What's the problem? And so I think what I'm most excited about is knowing, not hoping, but knowing that we have reached out to everybody who I want to reach out to, the way I want to reach out, as many times as I want to reach out, and with all of the other details that I could bring to the table. And so I'm no longer counting on a human being that may or may not get busy, may or may not be sick, may or may not need a day off. And this just answers that question. So before, when we were looking at retention and just data numbers, every month I'll say, all right, we started with this number of patients, we had this many new patients, this many follow-ups, this many therapy appointments, and you start tracking the data, and you realize after digging into the right data points how many people are disappearing each month. And that doesn't even jump out at you, because the new patients often come in 2 or 3 times that first month. So one new patient can hide the problem from 3 patients leaving. And so you kind of got to see it over time and see the patterns. And, that was our biggest area of concern is why do a couple people, or a certain percentage of people not come back each month when everybody says they're happy and we know that we've got good quality. And I mean, again, we can understand who our patients are and understand that that's going to happen with a percentage, but nobody knows what percentage. And I think that this really helps us feel comfortable. When I got into this business, somebody said to me, who was in the office, said, I wish I knew what average was, right? I wish I knew what was average in the industry, what was supposed to happen, how many people were supposed to fall off every month. That way you know if you're meeting the benchmark. We had that question for 2 years until I met you. Now we can finally answer that question and not worry that we're not doing a good enough job, not worry that we have to hire another person. And, from our perspective, you can call it marketing, but it's more of a keeping in touch campaign.
Yeah.
And it allows me to know that I'm running my business more efficiently than we were prior.
Awesome. Yeah. So that now that we've actually proven that that AI can kind of bring back lost patients and even understand why they left in the first place, what is the next big challenge that you want to fix with this?
I want to improve my conversion rates. So we have a certain number of people that contact the office every day and every week, a certain amount that fill out the paperwork, a certain amount that schedule an appointment, and then a certain amount that might not even show up to the appointment.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the benefits of our company is that there's no waiting list. And so the biggest problem in our industry is usually that most companies like ours have a 6-week waiting list, and then patients are basically shopping around to say, who can satisfy my needs fastest, right? We feel confident that we can do it the fastest and with great quality. So from our perspective, it really is a legitimate question mark why somebody would go through the process of filling out all the paperwork and talking to the administrator, and it sounds like a perfect fit, and we can get them in as soon as they want to be seen with the perfect type of provider, and then they disappear. And you go, what happened here? So with this campaign, I want to eliminate questions about, are we dropping the ball? Are we not staying in communication? Maybe I'll get some data points from a conversation that will tell me why they didn't follow up or why they didn't continue. But there's still we have these question marks on different parts of our business. Why are the patients doing this? So I guess there's really two sides to this. Of course, where the rubber meets the road is scheduling a patient again, but almost the more important side is the information and the data of learning why everybody's acting the way they are so that you can fix it at the core.
What is the typical wait time for, another, I guess, a Tele Med Clinix competitor?
Usually literally about 6 weeks. Mental health providers are very hard to come by these days. The last 5 years or so, these services have been in extremely high demand. And there are long waits at a lot of facilities. So, we try and offer 72-hour bookings, telehealth, so there shouldn't be a geographical issue or a logistical issue. And again, copays are what the copays are. 99% of our business is insurance based, so it's not a pricing issue. So we're improving every day, and we're getting better every day. We're getting better retention, better results. We're growing. I just know that we can grow even faster, and I want to make sure that we don't have any, I call them holes in the boat, that we're not aware of.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on with the conversation, another clinic wanted to start using AI, and based on your experience with AI today, plus also what your dad's group has been talking about, what's the first thing that they should do to try to get into it?
If they're in my space, they should not use it. If they're a competitor of mine, don't do it. I'm all for, at the end of the day, when we got into this business, it was to take care of the patients. And, there unfortunately are more patients than there are providers. So I do actually encourage everybody to grow their businesses and be able to serve more people. And I think this is just a great tool to communicate with folks, to gather data, and to make changes. A moment ago, I had mentioned folks that fill out paperwork, part of paperwork, and then don't finish. I'll tell you, last week, based on this interaction, and we were going through our conversion rates and people filling out paperwork, and really where we got to because of that was in the last week, we've had a team of people looking at the paperwork that folks are filling out, and we're making adjustments to the paperwork. We are eliminating certain questions, certain things that come off as duplicates, certain questions where we've recognized people are uneasy about filling it out. You know, there's a financial form, which is a big area where people fall off. Again, they know there's a financial form that they need to fill out, but they still don't want to do it. They know they're not going to be charged unless they have a no-show, but they still don't want to do it. And so we're making adjustments to our business based on patient behavior.
Yep. And I think that the AI on the AI aspect of that, one of the potential opportunities there is to, not everyone on your team can sit there and nurture someone through paperwork, right? I mean, you're there and available, but the prospective patient isn't going to necessarily voice their concerns for something. They would rather just either kind of bury their head, so to speak, or move on to the next thing, whatever it is.
It's a fine line, right? The administrator is not the therapist or the doctor. So,
right.
So we want to make the patient feel comfortable and welcome, and as if, we're a team helping them on their journey of healing. But it's inappropriate for the administrator to spend 45 minutes on the phone booking somebody's appointment. And we do have a lot of folks that want to call and talk to whoever's gonna, make them feel better. And so we need to be aware of how efficient we are with those conversations. And again, it's a fine line. You gotta have the right energy and be, there to help the patient. At the same time, you can't spin your wheels and only talk to 5 patients all day long. That's not the recipe for a successful business.
Do you think AI would be able to help in that space?
I do. I think that, I guess what I see, and it sort of like we mentioned earlier, we've been introduced now, we've been bitten by the bug, and now we want to see what we can do with it. And I think that as our confidence continues to grow with how it's handling certain details, we will continue to grow how we apply it to our business. I can see that we might be able to do the entire phone call to book a patient maybe through AI, and we haven't even talked about that. Right now, we're really just focused on text message type programs. But I think there's certainly other aspects of AI that could be applied. And I'm not sure if you operate those ones or not.
We do. It's just a little bit more. So voice AI is like right around the corner in terms of the things that we're going to start integrating and offering as part of our services. It's a little bit more challenging, but the technology is there. It's just honing it and making it work the way we want it to work for our clients. All right. So last question: the future of telemedicine, or AI in telemedicine and behavioral health. What's coming next? What do you think is what's coming next?
Ooh,
big one.
What is coming next? Telemedicine. In the medical industry, we are bound by insurance reimbursements, and they really dictate what folks can afford to do and not do. And that's one of the reasons why we are so focused on efficiency. Is in this business, you do not have the ability to raise your price. What you do have is the ability to lower your costs. And I'll just tell you, over the last 4 years, we've experienced 27% inflation on the provider and staff side. And most businesses start out trying to make 30% profit, right? So where does that leave you 4 years later? Having to become more efficient to make a profit. And that's where I think all this comes in. And eliminating all of these question marks about, is there a problem there? Do we need to spend time over there? Now, I see AI helping in so many ways. It can help with the marketing side. It can help with the booking side. It can help with us understanding the data inside of our EHR. It can help us understand all of our profit margins on specific projects. It can help us understand the efficiency of each provider. It can help us understand better average reimbursements from insurance companies and which insurance companies we would want to be working with in particular, or patients for certain insurance companies that may be more lucrative than others. In this business, we help everybody, but if you know who more efficient folks are, you can make an extra effort to market to those folks and connect with those folks. So we're here to help everybody, but we do want to make some money along the way too. And that involves always getting better, always getting more efficient, always growing, and always evolving. I'll tell you, I went into 2025 saying this is the year of AI for me. And some people would laugh and say, you're 3, 4, 8 years late on that. But for me, at the age of 48 years old, I said, it's becoming brutally obvious that I have to change and adapt and get better. And you look back at our life and there are all these things, whether it's the dot-com boom or whatever it may be, that drastically change things. I used to have a different business, a restaurant delivery service. And back in 2006, we were chirping drivers on Nextels, faxing orders into the restaurant and following up with a phone call, hoping they could hear it ring in a busy restaurant. Now it's a tech business. It's connected to Google Maps. You can hit a button and know exactly when the driver is going to arrive at the restaurant, what time the order should be sent to the restaurant based on their cook time on a Thursday at 12 noon and with that specific item. And it will literally pair the driver and the food up to arrive, or the food coming out of the kitchen and the driver walking in the door within 90 seconds of one another, to put that food right into the driver's double thick thermal insulated bag with hot and cool compartments and straight to the customer. Right. And, so every business is going to experience it. And you can imagine if I continued doing things on Nextels and with telephones, we would have been out of business. And we had to evolve and become a tech business and build an app and all these different campaigns and so on. And we did very well with it and ended up selling the business before I got into this business. It's an example of how you have to evolve. When you look back at history and what you're talking about, Walgreens or Eckerd or whatever it is, you can see the companies that evolved and adapted to technology appropriately and the companies that didn't. And there's a long list of both companies. So we've seen it our whole lives. And this is another one of those major changes in business that you have to figure out how you're going to adapt AI and make your business more efficient and better. And part of that is learning about your customers, learning about your patients, learning about behaviors, recognizing problems you didn't even know, and eliminating never-ending chases is my favorite one.
Yep. I mean, you said it best. I think the industry, the businesses at large, it's if you don't start doing this now, I mean, you probably have less than 6 to 12 months to start integrating AI into your business, and if you don't, it's going to be like running a marathon in sandals. You're just not going to be able to keep up.
I met a guy last night when I was walking my dog, an older gentleman, very nice guy, and he told me about when he had a business. And his business was printing photographs. And he recognized that there were 10 of those businesses when he started, and he was the last man standing. And then it got to the point where he couldn't pay his bills and he shut down his business. And he decided at that point to retire. And you could tell he had some regrets or feelings about that, right? And it's like, well, you have to adapt and evolve. I remember when I had my last business for over 10 years, I was probably on year 12, and somebody said, if you have a business in this country for more than 10 years, you are doing something right, because you have to go through those changes, right? You can't keep doing the same thing because the world is changing. I would have loved to have freeze time in 2013 with my restaurant delivery service, but that wasn't an option. DoorDash and Uber Eats were coming in hot regardless, right? Well, same thing here. We've all got to adapt. We've all got to get better and keep growing. And, when you say where is it going in mental health, I'm sure there's even a part where it can help the providers that we're not even thinking about yet, right? With their assessments and being more efficient with their time. Eventually, it may creep up into insurance reimbursements, may get adjusted due to some of the changes with the providers and whether you're able to use technology to figure out certain things instead of human beings. There's so many different things. And I think that 5 years from now, 3 years from now, we'll be doing things that we haven't even thought of yet, right?
That's exactly right. Anything else that you want to say? Any last comments? Something you want to talk about?
Let's see. I mean, I'm somebody in life. I think it's important for people to have the mindset to always be getting better, always be growing. And here we've talked a lot about evolution. The world is changing every day, and you got to either get on the train or you're going to fall off. I'm excited about trying to integrate AI into different aspects of my life that allow me to do a lot of things more efficiently. And I think stress comes from inaction more so than some other things. And I think that when you have lists and you're not sure whether they've been followed up on appropriately, or if you have data points that aren't being looked at appropriately. I think that's where a lot of stress comes from. And I think that if you can implement AI strategies in different parts of your business to know that those areas are sufficiently taken care of, I think that that really can help you lower your stress, not wonder about certain things, and allow you to think appropriately about growing in a new fashion, putting all your energy in the right place.
Well said. Well said. All right, Andrew Brown, CEO and founder of Tele Med Clinix. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate everything you're doing. It's awesome.
You bet. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks, Josh.